Hello everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture again. As you all know, a trailer was released for the upcoming Season 1/Series 14 of Doctor Who, and we have already done an initial video breaking down what we noticed and saw in that trailer. But quite honestly, there is so much in that trailer that we thought we would do a second video because some things have been pointed out to us by various comments. We've noticed some extra bits as well, and we thought, let's discuss them. Before I do get into that though, just before I started recording, I noticed that Stephen Powell, the host presenter for Doctor Who Unleashed, and his wife Emma have just welcomed a baby girl, and I would like to say congratulations to him and everybody else if you'd like to pass on your congratulations to Stephen Powell and his new baby girl. First of all, some people commented that they didn't have a Disney logo on the version that they watched. Plain and simple, the BBC released a version of the trailer and Disney released a version of the trailer. Obviously, the Disney version had the Disney logoing because it was for the airing of it on Disney+. The BBC, obviously, that was a UK-only trailer, so that didn't have Disney on it because it's for the BBC. It didn't have anything on it at all. Plain and simply, we watched the Disney version because it was the first one that came up and we wanted to jump on it as quickly as we could for you. So that's why we commented on it, but that's why we might have seen it and you didn't. Also, that Disney version of the trailer has 4.6 million views on YouTube. That is crazy. That is a lot of people who have watched that trailer. A lot of them might have been me just rewatching it over and over and over again, let's be honest, but still. And even on the Doctor Who YouTube channel, that video has got almost 600,000 views as well. So for anyone thinking that people still aren't interested in Doctor Who, these figures speak for themselves. A lot of people have been watching these trailers in anticipation. So the trailer opens with the Doctor stepping out of the TARDIS and saying, "Gimme the lovin'." In our first video, we did kind of speculate as to who the Doctor was talking to. We kind of suggested it might not be Rose because of the positioning, but one person that we didn't actually mention in that was Mel. On Russell T Davis's Instagram, when he posted the trailer, Bonnie Langford actually commented on that post, "Give me the loving." So perhaps it's Mel who the Doctor is talking to in this scene. It would make a lot of sense. And it's also just really lovely to see Bonnie Langford getting this attention that she really deserves and didn't get the first time round when she played Mel. So we also had this wonderful shot of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor and David Tennant's head floating next to him. Now, some very wonderful people on the internet have discovered that this screen grab of David Tennant's face is from the 10th Doctor episode, The Next Doctor. It's from around 36 minutes into the episode, if anyone really wants to go and find it, where the Doctor and Jackson Lake are discussing their final assault on the Cybermen. It does make you wonder how the hell they go about choosing these particular images of each Doctor. I mean, as I said, we've seen moments where the different faces of the Doctors have been shown before. Who decides what image to use? I mean, there are so many 10th Doctor episodes. Why did they go trudging through The Next Doctor? Is it totally random? Are they purposely looking for one that people might not be able to identify so easily? Is there relevance to what episode this screenshot's from? Probably not. It's just a very interesting thing, isn't it? Who has had to sit there and find that particular image, and is it from a very specific episode for a reason? Okay. The next one is this lovely old lady who looks very, very scared for her life. When we did the initial video, myself and Danny were discussing who this lady might be, and at the time, we didn't know. We tried to find out, but we weren't entirely sure. Since then, the internet has exploded with people identifying this particular old lady as June Hudson, who was the costume designer during the 4th Doctor's run. She was also responsible for the iconic question marks design on the Doctor's collar. Apparently, she wasn't actually a fan of those question marks, and it was only because John Nathan Turner basically insisted upon them that she finally relented. There has been no official confirmation that this is June Hudson, but I would say that the number of people I've seen on Twitter in particular identifying her as such, that it's fairly obvious that it is June Hudson. And there is a reason for this. It's not just like, well, why would a random costume designer be there? She has dabbled in acting as well, and she did have a cameo in Class, so it's not the first time that she's popped up in the Whoniverse. There has been some suggestion that this might actually be an older version of Ruby. I guess there is a similarity in appearance, definitely, you know, facial features, face shape, the nose. We did try to zoom in to see if the detailing of Millie Gibson's eyebrow scar was on this lady, but it is very difficult to figure out. Once you zoom in, it gets too blurry. Obviously, we do have a shot later on in the trailer, very brief shot of Ruby wearing glasses. This lady here is wearing glasses. I don't know that glasses are really a basis to say that's the same person. I mean, I could put my glasses on and say, look, I'm her now too. But, you know, there are similarities between them. Personally, I don't think that this is an older version of Ruby. I think that this is going to be a cold open. I think it's just a cameo for June Hudson. I don't necessarily think there's going to be much more importance or relevance to it. I think it will be a cold open with this poor old lady being killed in some terrifying manner. Having said that, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we did see an older version of Ruby at some point in this season. Something is happening with time, and it definitely is revolving around Ruby in some way. Now, we did have a shot, the same shot with her wearing the glasses, where she did look, just in that shot, she does look slightly older. I mean, she doesn't look like an old lady, but she does look more mature, more grown up, more much older than we have seen her in the Church on Ruby Road and in other shots in this trailer. Whether this is a future version of the character, a different reality, a different, like an alternate version of the character, I'm not sure. I guess as well the idea of Ruby stepping on the butterfly and that whole butterfly effect. What if by doing so she alters her own history? And there's a particular episode where we jump between different realities and different timelines depending on what's been changed because of this butterfly effect. And following on from talking about this old lady, let's go to this young woman that we also saw in the trailer. Clearly she is facing off against the slug-looking creatures, the space slugs. But interestingly, a lot of people have suggested that this could be a young Mrs. Flood. I know we're kind of jumping on the older versions of characters, younger versions of characters. People can just be their own characters. And she very likely is just a random character, but there is certainly some resemblance to Anita Dobson in this young woman. Maybe the facial shape and features, a little bit like what I just said about Ruby and June Hudson. Also, this woman looks like she's kind of dressed more kind of 60s, 70s style, which again would lend itself to the idea that she's playing the young version of the character we then see older in modern day. She doesn't necessarily look like she's dressed contemporary, but then again, I don't dress massively contemporary either, so it could be interesting. You know, if it is a younger version of Mrs. Flood, perhaps that is giving us an answer as to who she is. Perhaps this is the origin of how she was recruited into whatever it is that these space slugs are doing. Possibly, highly unlikely. But we do know that Mrs. Flood is going to be important to this season. So, and seeing as we only saw her very briefly in a shot that we'd already seen in the trailer, and there wasn't much attention to her in the trailer, I wouldn't be surprised if actually she was in it more than we realised. Also want to just jump in here and address the dinosaur situation. You guys sent me on like a full-on like existential crisis for the day, thinking that I had been saying Diplodocus wrong my entire life. Turns out I wasn't wrong, and every single person I asked that day how they pronounced Diplodocus, they said the same as me. So Diplodocus, I'm fairly certain, is the American pronunciation. Perhaps people in the UK might say it that way as well, but Diplodocus is how I would say it. It's how everybody I asked also said they would say it. So, whew. You guys sent me off on a little crazy journey for the day there. Also, I am no dinosaur aficionado, so it may not be a Diplodocus. I have no idea. It looks similar to one, which is why I said that it reminded me of one. But I very, 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 put my hands up, could absolutely be wrong. I don't really know dinosaurs that well. Dinosaurs that look like a Diplodocus are my favourite kind of dinosaur. And let's move on quickly to some awards. And the award here is for the least effort made by an extra, and it goes to this guy right here. This is probably the funniest detail that we noticed in this trailer. If you keep your eyes on this chap in the little corner here, during the shot where there's a big cloud of menacing smoke tumbling down the streets, everybody is running for what looks like their lives in terror. Except for this one dude who just looks like he's going for a little jog. I mean, it's just quite funny. You probably didn't really notice, but now we've pointed it out, you're not going to be able to unnotice that. Points for effort, I guess, although does he get points for effort? It's like he didn't get the memo of what they were running from. Okay, so in the last video, we did comment on, I think I just said, there's a thing in some water. A lot of people very kindly pointed out to us that this is a tuning fork. Again, that definitely suggests that this is a shot from the Beatles-focused episode. Lots of links to music, and obviously Jinx Monsoon as this kind of musical villain. Another thing we noticed, we know that each individual light in the TARDIS can change colour, and they can all be different colours, and we've seen lots of different colours within the TARDIS. This particular shot, it's like multicoloured. Just in this shot, we've got red lights, green lights, blue lights, and orange lights, and it's like the TARDIS has gone disco. And the fact that they're wearing those 60s outfits as well, I mean, I don't know, it just seems very cool. I really love the design of this new TARDIS. At first, I felt like it was too clinical because I only saw it white, but now that it's kind of been changing to all these various colours, I really like it. Okay, this one has caused some debate amongst myself and Danny, definitely. So we're going to need you to let us know what you think in the comments with regards to this one here. So we have this shot of Ruby sat, and there is very clearly a figure standing behind her. The next shot we get in the trailer, or one of the next shots we get, is Ruby sat in a pub, in a bar, and there's something behind her. I'm sure there's an arrow pointing to it or something right now, or it zoomed in or something. Is this another figure? Is there a figure following her and getting closer? Now, there's definitely reasoning to think that there is something. We speculated in the last video that Ruby's got her own sort of version of the Watcher and that someone is following her. Again, when you zoom in, it just gets too blurry. Personally, I think it's just the background of the shot. It might even be a bottle. What do you guys think? Is this a person, or is this a bottle, or is this just a part of the background? Okay, next we have this shot of Ruby in the snow, and it's tinted blue. That blue tint is very similar to the blue tint that we had in the shot of the lamppost earlier on in the trailer. And in that shot, it looks like behind the lamppost is what's called Waterloo Inn, the Waterloo Inn, some sort of pub. We also see that the outfit that Ruby is wearing in this particular shot is the same one that she is wearing later on in a shot of her and the Doctor stood inside some sort of room, some sort of machine, and it's snowing. So our suggestion, our theory is that this is a machine created by UNIT to perhaps either create visions, or we also speculated that it reminded us of the machine that was made for Donna in Turn Left. And does this machine send people back into their own memories? Perhaps this shot of Ruby that's tinged blue, it kind of gives this kind of idea that she's... My mouth just made a weird noise. Because of the blue tinge, especially of this shot of Ruby stood in the snow and the lamppost itself, is that she's kind of gone back into her own past, into a memory, maybe a lost memory they're trying to retrieve, or is it an alternate life that she's stepped into? And yeah, it definitely feels like maybe UNIT has created this device. Perhaps this is where it kind of all comes together and the answers that they've been searching for get revealed, perhaps through the use of this machine. I think that the triad technology is going to be very inherent to this. We did speculate in the previous video that the triad technologies may well be linked to the TARDIS, and that would make a lot of sense with regards to time travel and changes within timelines and time streams. It's all very complicated, but also we love to speculate and theorize. Then we also had this Earth shot. This is a very classic RTD1 thing to do, where the camera kind of zooms all the way down onto Earth and usually into like someone's living room or something. It's how Rose opened, it's how the Christmas Invasion opened, and a lot of other episodes as well. So it might not be, but it feels like this is like a callback to the opening shots of episode 1 for Russell T Davies's first era. Given that we've got Russell back, we've got Murray Gold back, we've got pretty much the entire production team from his first era back, I feel like we're going to get a lot of these callbacks throughout Doctor Who from now on. Also, if you do look at this shot of Earth, there seems to be a very dark cloud looming over the UK. Is this from the episode where we saw the kind of dystopian looking London? Is it what we saw, a big cloud of something, dust swarm kind of billowing through London? But either way, considering that you can literally see it from space, it seems like this threat is going to be huge. Speaking of that shot of the Doctor and Mel on the moped, now I am absolutely no expert when it comes to cars, even less of an expert when it comes to bikes, mopeds, and all of those sort of things. But a lot of people have pointed out, and I would agree with them, that the license plate on that moped suggests it can be from no earlier than September 2025. So there's a few things for this. Either they weren't that bothered about making sure that the years were right when they made the number plate, or season 1 could actually be set a little bit further in the future. Russell T Davies has done this before. As soon as the Doctor brought Rose back and it had been a year instead of a day or whatever, that meant that everything from then was just slightly in the future compared to us. This could either suggest that season 1 as a whole is set just slightly in the future, or at least that particular episode may be set just slightly in the future as well. Maybe parallel world, alternate reality. We've mentioned so many times, time is crucial to what's happening in this season. So I wouldn't be the bit surprised if this number plate is not an accident. Also on the topic of the moped scene, we did point out in the previous video that we could very clearly see Bonnie Langford's stunt double in one of the shots. But if you do look closely at the same screenshot, you can also see that it's Ncuti Gatwa's stunt double as well. So it would seem that even with all of this Disney money, covering the faces with some sort of CGI face replacement, not covered by that budget. I mean, we like freeze frame, literally frame by frame, so obviously people like us are going to notice it. Probably in the trailer itself, it's barely noticeable, but we thought it was funny. Now, one person that we did not see in this trailer was Jonathan Groff. For a while, there have been some theories that Jonathan Groff might be playing a recast version of Captain Jack Harkness, and the fact that we see the Doctor kind of saluting in the same fashion that we've seen the Doctor and Captain Jack do to one another in previous episodes kind of lent itself to that theory. Personally, I don't think that Jonathan Groff is going to be playing Captain Jack Harkness. I don't think it makes sense. Beyond any controversy, which I'm not going to get into in this particular video, but beyond that, Captain Jack Harkness is not a character that it would make sense to recast. He's not a Time Lord. He's a time agent, but the whole point of Captain Jack is he dies and comes back to life, but he's always the same. So recasting him and to be played by someone else, it just doesn't make sense to me. You just wouldn't do it. You just don't bring the character back. There's no point in recasting him. It wouldn't make sense narratively, and I don't think an audience would be able to get on board with that. Now, I have seen some theories that Jonathan Groff may be playing a Captain Jack type character, even potentially a time agent. That makes sense. I could definitely get on board with that, and there's kind of a little bit more reasoning behind that. You know, the trailer we got before this one, we saw Jonathan Groff holding kind of a futuristic looking gun, despite the fact that he's wearing the Bridgerton style outfit, which kind of suggests that, like the Doctor, he is not from that time. So that I definitely can get on board with. Perhaps he is a time agent or a time traveller in some way. I don't think he's Captain Jack Harkness, and I don't think I'd want him to be. The choice of song used in this trailer, Changes by David Bowie. This song has now been used in the 2 greatest things ever made, Doctor Who and Shrek 2. Honestly, Shrek 2 is such a great film. I think it's even better than the first one. Not the point. I think the use of this song is really, really clever. As some people have said, it's a little bit on the nose, a little bit obvious, but I do think it's relevant. As we've said time and time again in this video alone, time is very, very relevant to what's going on here. And we had a lot of time may change me, but I can't trace time. I think there's a lot of levels to why this song was chosen. First and foremost, the show has undergone lots of changes externally. We have a new Doctor, we have this new kind of Disney involvement. The show, we've got Russell T Davies back, so the show itself has gone through a lot of changes at the moment, so I think that maybe is part of it. And then there are changes within the universe of Doctor Who itself. There's something going wrong with time, and as I mentioned quite a lot in the previous discussion, my theory is definitely that something has shifted in the fundamentals of the universe here. And so again, the use of changes, I think, is very poignant to the bigger picture of what's going on here. And maybe a clue in itself. Or it just might have been a cool song, but we all know that they are not that silly. There's a reason for everything they do. Keep your eyes peeled on the channel, because we are now fast approaching the airing of season 1, so there's going to be lots of content coming out. So make sure that you have the notification bell tapped, so then you'll know if we've posted a new video. In the meantime, I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of River Song herself, goodbye, sweeties.